If the data for your business is a mess, but you just don't know where to get started in terms of cleaning it up, then this video is for you. I'm Patrick, the founder of Univium, a business automation development company, and today I'm going to be going over how to get started with data governance, and that is how to clean up your data, how to manage your data, and make sure your data is solid so that your business can operate smoothly. And so I'm just going to hop right into it today. One of the things I often tell my clients is that we can't build a good automation off of bad data. You have to have good data to build a good automation, and you have to have good data to run a good business, in my opinion. And so I'm going to share my screen and just kind of go over a few things. Bear with me just a minute. Here we go. And so you should be able to see that. I'm going to make sure that you can see me as well. There we go. And again, this is just a quick overview of data governance, and kind of some key points is, number one, we're going to go over the data governance definition, kind of what data governance means, what it encompasses. I'm just going to briefly touch on the difference between 2D data and 3D data. That is a very important aspect of data governance, one that a lot of small businesses don't necessarily take into account. And so that's one thing that we're going to go over. How to build a data dictionary, what a data dictionary is, why it's beneficial, and how it will significantly help you clean your data and save time. How to set up data governance notifications, and how to train your team to keep data clean and hold them accountable so that your data stays clean before it becomes an issue. Going over data governance definition, I'll just read this off here. It's the discipline of defining how data is structured, maintained, and trusted across systems, ensuring accuracy, consistency, and accountability in how information is created, updated, and used. And I know that's a lot of information to process, but really what it mostly encompasses is just how to get your data clean and how to keep your data clean, more or less. So that's really all data governance is, and it's building these systems and processes to do just that. Next, we have some definitions between 2D data and 3D data. Now, you can look at these if you want, but really I have an entirely separate video that talks just on the difference between 2D data and 3D data. So I'm going to include a link to that in the description. That way you can go and watch that video. But it's definitely very important. I'd say 3D data is just making sure you keep track of what level your data point is on. So like data points like email, phone number, and whatnot may be on the contact level, but data points like company address, company name may be on the company level, and contacts can have multiple companies, companies can have multiple contacts, and a lot of businesses don't structure their data in a way that you can effectively store those relationships between those data levels. But again, I have an entirely separate video on that, and I highly recommend checking it out. Next up is going over a data dictionary, and one of the things I would recommend is building a data dictionary, which is just that. It's a dictionary of words and what that data point means to your business. Because a lot of times the name of a data point may not be entirely representative of what that data point means. I'm trying to think of an example. I'd say one company I worked with recently, they were tracking contracts and permits, and there was a hardwire light installation date column, and you might not know what a hardwire light installation date is. You might not know the significance of it unless you're regularly involved in that business. And so building a data dictionary helps people quickly find out and retrieve information on what a given data point means. And I just made a bullet point list here of some different information you should store for each data point. So the data point name, so like the contact email, the data point name would be email, the data level would be contact, definition would be, this one would be simple, is just the email for that particular contact. You'd want to include a data type in the data dictionary. So like whether the data type is text, whether it's email, whether it's phone number, whether it's whether it's a single select option or a multi-select option, or whether it is a number or currency. You want to specify what the data type is, because a lot of times what I see is small businesses will have, I know I saw it recently, they had like a permit date on their Google Sheet, which should be, a date value, but they were putting in text values in the date column. They were saying no date needed, NA, etc. And that causes issues, because whenever you're trying to report on that data, when you're trying to filter on that data, if you're not using the right data type, you're not going to be able to filter and view and see your data appropriately. So specifying what the data type should be so that everyone knows, even if you would assume it's like inherently known based off of the column name saying something like permit date, you definitely want to specify it in the data dictionary. That way everyone on your team is very, very clear about that. Another item you want to do is like logic and constraints for a given data point. So again, back to the permit date, with this particular company, there was an instance where the permit date didn't need to be filled in if the permit required column was set to no. And so some people didn't know that, and so they were reporting all of these issues saying we're missing permit dates on 1,000 records and that sort of thing. But if you looked at the data dictionary, you'd see, permit date is not required if the permit requirement column is set to no. And so specifying those things in the data dictionary can help people understand what the value should be, whether there should be any value, and that sort of thing. So definitely you want to pay attention to logic and constraints. And then finally, sources, where the data point lives. If it lives in HubSpot, if it lives in Airtable, if it lives in Google Sheets, whatever software or system the single source of truth is for that data point, you just want to make sure that you specify that. And last but not least is you want to train your team to keep data clean, and you want to hold them accountable. So people typically don't prioritize data cleanliness until after it's already caused a problem. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're talking with your team regularly about data cleanliness, and you want to set up data governance notifications is one of the things I highly recommend. That way, whenever a data error does occur, your team gets notified. And there are a lot of different ways you can set up data governance notifications. I'm actually going to create a separate video on that entirely. You can do it for pretty much any platform, whether it's Google Sheets, again, Google Sheets, Airtable, HubSpot, CRM, project management platform. You can set up data governance notifications anywhere. So separate video coming on that. And teach your team to, number one, understand your data by looking at your data dictionary. Teach your team to identify data issues just while they're going through the data. They should be able to quickly identify and notice data issues. And then most importantly of all is how to properly correct those data issues, which a lot of times involves a process of, hey, I see this data issue, let me reference the data dictionary, confirm that this actually is an issue, and then correct it. Having people correct your data is the best way to ensure your data is accurate, because you can all be aligned on what your data should be. The people working in your systems are going to be the people that know your data the best. Even if at times it seems like they're struggling, they will still be the ones that know your data the best. And so it's still important, even in the age of AI, to make sure people are looking at your data, reviewing your data, correcting your data. But overall, that really covers just about everything. It's just a real brief introduction to data governance. And as always, if you need any help with implementing data governance or automations within your business, the chances are my business automation development company, Univium, can help. So if you're interested, please go to univium.com and send us a message, and we will get back to you in 24 hours and try and help you out the best we can. So thank you very much, and take care.